Um, I just made this video because I know I've gone over this VOD a couple times. Um, and I know that we don't always have a lot of time to sit down and watch them, so I was hoping to keep these kind of short. There's just a couple key moments I wanted to talk about, which is the ways that we're making decisions, specifically around the early and mid game, that we could potentially change the way we're thinking about those and make better decisions, which could kind of help us work together better. So I'll be following Scruff for the first part of this video, and then I'll go through Drivex after. Alright, first thing to note here is that they have no level 1 CC between these three people. Really the most chase they have is maybe Echo and Zinzao start E. I mean, I really doubt Nasus is going to start W. If so, it's more than worth. And so there's not a whole lot of kill potential here, especially because everybody has flash. So in this situation, we see the mid laners show at the blue buff, and the wave is just about to meet. And since I'm not actually caught out, I could show, like, you know, I'm taking a Q, but the Echo is pretty far away, Nasus doesn't have any CC, Aatrox is coming down, like, I'm more than fine. So in this situation, just use him coming to help push me out, and punish it by just shoving in this first wave. Get that early level 2, because otherwise I kind of just get a delayed start on my buff for no reason at all, and so it just puts me behind in tempo without gaining lead elsewhere on the map. I know we talked about this in game, but this is just something that, I mean, you can always ask me because I'm pretty familiar with just the pathing routes of different junglers, but this is just some just basic game knowledge that should be fairly inherent. So I would say that there's about 5 or 6 junglers, namely, we have Pantheon, I'll fix that there. We have Xin, we have Camille, we have Jarvan, and then so I think this is just a pretty good list. There's probably 1 or 2 other ones here that are kind of optional, like Lee Sin can very often do this, but these are listed junglers who will have very, very strong level 2 spikes and gank very well with red buff. They use their auto attacks very well. They usually have some sort of early form of mobility or CC. And so when you see Xin Zhao, and we know that I have a delayed start on the top side here, there's almost a 99% chance that Xin Zhao's going to start red and either gank mid or gank bottom. Now in this situation, they have a little less setup in the bottom lane, and you have a little less mobility to get away because you're not going to start stun level 1, or if you do, I feel like it kind of gives you, takes away your shove advantage. So most likely Xin Zhao is going to start red and run mid. Even if his plan is to go bot, it's really safe just to plan around it because it's a very powerful tool that can really set me far behind and kind of make it hard for me to do anything, because if he gets this first gank off, he could start invading me with that early kill lead, and it becomes very not fun, especially because this is a very hard matchup for me. So that being said, right, most junglers will finish their camps so the camps spawn at 1:30, and typically it takes about 10 to 20 seconds to clear a camp, depending on the stage of the game and stuff like that. And since it's the first part of the game, most junglers will finish about kind of like 145 or 150. So right now is when you should really be expecting a gank in the mid lane, especially from a level 2 jungler like this, and we know he's coming from bot side. So you hovering on the bottom side of the right here and looking for these Qs onto the minions makes it really easy for him to bait you into a trade and set up this level 2 gank, which he could probably already set up himself just by walking over the wall here, going onto you, and at the very least they'll blow your flash. And if we toggle Fog of War here, you can already see he's already on his way. I won't spend too much time talking about just the good things we do because honestly, I felt like, you know, these are things that we should always be doing, but I did really like this roam over. You have the wave already pushed, and we caught him kind of greedily invading when we have the mid prio, and we punished it really well. Alright, so right here, I think it was right about now, because you can see me swapping over. I make a call to make a play onto the Echo here. You know the Echo has no flash, but he also has a, you know, his E to get away and his W. So in these situations in which we don't easily lock him down with either the jungler or the mid laner, you kind of have to just bait him in. And I know this is kind of a little bit gonna be stuff you already know, but you know, I just kind of want to make this clear because I know this has happened between us a couple of times. So in this situation, you have double buffs, and I think you're down 1 level, but I don't think against Echo he really like hard abuses that level advantage. Especially since it's going to be 2v1. Especially because I'm going to time this to be 2v1. Like, I intentionally planned on this because I know that he's coming back onto the map right now. Like, if we look, he's literally right there. So in this case, what I need you to do is kind of swing around to this side, and it's called kind of think of it as like pivoting, right? So you go to here, and he either takes a trade, in which I come from behind and we can kill him, or you go over here, he goes here, and then I come in like this, and then we chase him and preferably kill him. But it doesn't quite work out like that, and so like I'm kind of forced to lead into it. Like, I think I kind of get the idea, like you want to pick a couple minions and just not give it away too obviously, but when I have someone with mobility, like Lee Sin and stuff like that, it's okay to just kind of take the trade, kind of bait him in, and whatever, because at this point we're kind of screwed, because he gets the E away, so it's going to be very hard for you to land your Q, and he gets the W right here, which I think this is a little bit unlucky, but I think it's just like a champion knowledge thing. Right, so there you go. So Irelia's Q is always going to put her on the other side of whoever she dashes to. So if Echo puts his field down here and you Q through him, it's going to stun you. So this is something to keep in mind, is like, can I survive if I land on the other side of him? And in this case, it's barely. No, those things happen. This is part of practicing a champion. I'll just say that was a really nice setup. You saw that you had the wave in a favorable advantage, so like he had to come up and see us. We knew that Xin Zhao headed onto the bot side of the map, and it doesn't take much of a genius to figure out that he's probably either taking Raptors, or if he's somehow clearing really quickly, is on Krugs. So you just step in when he gets too far and kill him. It was really good use of your double buffs and health advantage. So that being said, this is probably a poor decision here. So I get like you want to push the wave, and it's okay like if you call my assistance. Like in this situation, I have like 2 camps up. I think my farm's like okay. I think I might even have a farm. Yeah, I'm even in farm with him. I mean, honestly, even in tempo. I don't think top lane is gankable. I think Nessus is backed. Like, I don't really have much to do in the map, so it's okay to say, hey, can you help me push this in? And if I'm not able to, I'll say no. In which case, honestly, it's probably not worth in this situation. But it's okay to call me in to help push this in. But the problem is, we know Xin Zhao is hovering around here. We know that I lose the 1v1, so I can't push him off your lane, right? So if I was Xin Zhao in Sinrai, right, I could literally just run here and force him to go to this side of the map and just prevent him from coming onto you here. But he kind of gets the like control of his zone there, and we know that Echo is coming back the lane. And since you don't have level 6 yet, you don't have a level advantage, and you have like a kill advantage, but you haven't spent that gold yet, so he actually has a pretty decent item advantage. So pushing this in is really, really risky. and luckily they don't punish us for it, but that can wind up as a kill if the jungler is more aggressive and assertive. So along the same lines, and I know it's always a hard thing to do with mid lane just because there's so many gank paths. Unless we have really good vision set up, it's really hard to track the jungler. But on this situation, and this is something that I'm working on and just being a little more conscientious of, just warning you guys of these situations. But just to let you know, like, what the kind of things that are happening in the situations that I'll be describing when I'm making these calls. So he has all of his top camps down. I believe I either stole or attempted to steal his blue buff. We took and he has both of those cleared. I know that these camps are coming back up because he hasn't been onto the bot side of the map for a while, and that they usually spawn at 4:30. And that also his red buff is coming up. So he's on the top side of the map, but he doesn't really want to be on the bot side of the map until all of his camps are up so that he can clear more efficiently. And he has 2 pushing lanes, or lanes that are pushing into him. So, especially since we saw him right here, he's going to do this. Especially because his mid laner is a little bit behind. You have the level advantage, so he's anticipating a fight here because he knows that you have the level advantage. You just got your ult. You're looking for the fight here, but they still win the 2v1 and maybe the 2v2. So this should be a situation in which you're thinking, hey, I'm kind of vulnerable to a gank, and it's like it would be nice to like just kind of go on him here, and if it's really important, you can just call him, especially when I'm playing someone like Lee Sin. My main goal is tempo and map pressure here. So if you say, hey, I want to go in on this guy, can you shadow me? I'll just go and stand here for 5-10 seconds. It really shouldn't be more than that, but so this is a little bit of a champion matchup thing, and I don't know, I'm probably sure you know this, but for one, just it's one of those things where he has his he has one mobility tool, you have one CC tool, so it's just a battle of who uses theirs first, right? If you use E first, he wins. If he uses his E first, you win. But also notice that we know that the jungler wants to be on the bot side of the map here because he has no camps on the top side and his red buff is coming up. And we have no vision on the bot side. We know that bot lane is pushed in, so he's not doing anything there. So he's either invading here, clearing these camps, but you know it's possible but unlikely to be honest, especially because most people like to time it so that they take those together. Or he's just sitting in this bush here. Those are the only 3 things that can happen. And clearly the best thing he can be doing is either sitting in this bush or invading on me. And either way, if you take this fight here and you chase him into the river, right, he's either waiting here or he collapses on you from behind. And I'm in base, so I am in no position to help. So especially because you miss your E, and he's walking towards the side of the map where we know the jungler is either waiting or counter jungling. This is almost for sure going to turn into a 2v1. So unless you're planning on doing a 2v1 with your E down, this is something you should just give up. And sure enough, he comes around, turns up the fight, and now you turned your 10 CS lead and 2 kill lead into him shoving in a wave. Now my jungler is like 2-1, and I can't describe how bad this is going to be if it's like a much more aggressive jungler than ZMax. Like I can point out a situation later with the things that I'm talking about, but like I described earlier on how he literally could have just come around there and killed you when you had the level advantage. He has a massive lead over me right now, especially in items. He backs on a full warrior here when my next back comes on double longswords. And if we look at gold, alright, he's about 700 over me. And also he hard counters me because he has CC and I don't until level 6. So this would put me in a really bad situation. Alright, so in this situation here, we see that the jungle is ganking bot, so I'm taking invade on the blue. So in this situation, you know that there's not going to be a gank, and so it's completely safe to push out this mid lane, like hard, because Echo won't have kill pressure on you. And I'm gonna need the priority for when I take this. And so it's important to make this play now, because Xin Zhao is in progress of ganking. Like once we see him actually moving into the bot lane, it's fine to like completely push it out. The main problem is that because this wave sits here, Echo has the opportunity to just run straight to this blue, because it, and this is something that, you know, even you know, our gold team players are doing. This is almost any team in our league worth their salt will be doing this as well. Well, you have jungle ganking bot, mid lane pushed in, run the blue. Especially because most mid laners can actually 1v1 junglers, especially if they have items. Really, it's mostly the CC junglers like Elise that really aren't that way, but... And so, in this case, you know, you're kind of trying to freeze the wave, which I understand is good for the matchup, but it's also just a little bit about map pressure. And it's a balancing act. But we see Echo show up on the top side here, and we actually have like a little 2v2 skirmish here, and we know that Xin Zhao, I wasn't watching the map, but yeah, he recalled. So we didn't see him go over this ward. Right? He doesn't head towards the mid lane. My guess is he just walked back into the bush and recalled. So you know that you're not going to get ganked. You know that your mid laner's up here, and you know that the jungler is coming up here. So especially if you had started doing it earlier, but especially now, just hard push this in the mid lane. And now you're threatening plates for however long this draws out, because we don't really, there's no real ridders here. No one like has a hard advantage. Really the Echo brings the most to this fight because he's the only AP damage. He has the most CC, and he's coming fresh off a bye. But you know, instead you're kind of like letting this wave like slow push. And so that means that they kind of get to make this play onto Trip Exodai with very little punishment. And in fact, there would have been no punishment at all if they had given up the chase on Trip X and actually just walked back to the mid. Or at least even if Azur did and Xin kept chasing, but they agreed a little bit, which gives you a plate. And like this easily could have been 2 or 3 plates if you had already had the wave pushed, already been at the tower, and taking this while that whole play went down. As it is, you do get 2 plates, I think. Yeah, like, imagine if you had already had this wave pushing and hit into there while that whole play was happening. And then this is a little bit of just like a positioning thing. It's very minor, and I don't think it always comes out to it a whole lot, but it's just playing towards jungle side. So it's a very natural reaction for when the jungler comes in here for you to just kind of go here or go, oh shit, I need to go away from him. But in this situation, it's more important that you go towards me than it is to go away from him. Because I can help, whereas our bot lane's really far away, and you don't outrun him, right? He has his E, he has his W, he has Q. He'll be able to stick onto you fairly well. Especially because his combo is pretty quick with Hail Blades. So like, as you see, you know, he just kind of knocks you up, nothing really happens, and he just sticks onto you here, you don't really manage to peel him off. Whereas if you make that play, even if you make this play happen here, right, it's 1 or 2 seconds closer that I can get there. And then I come and I fuck up the combo, and so like I think it's just one of those things where like you played this fine, but like we could be doing better as a team and just using our map pressure better. Like we can be taking more plates there, and we can be saving your flash hopefully by just giving me an opportunity to be there a little bit quicker. Which to my fault also, I should have been reacting faster and anticipated the play. So this is something that I actually talked with our gold team, and it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it sounds obvious when you say it, but it's just something to be keeping more aware of. It's just something, just, you know, we just got to keep reminding ourselves. It's just looking at items for taking a fight, right? So it's that kind of that evaluation phase, right? Because there's kind of before you take a fight, there should really be 3 steps. Like you evaluate strength. What the fuck is that? You evaluate your strength. You look at the map, and then you engage. Right? So the first thing we should be doing is, does this even make sense? And honestly, we should kill this plan at that stage. I made a horrible misplay and I bought completely wrong items. So if we do get counter ganked, then it's going to be a very, very bad time for me because I'm really far behind in items to him. To that effect, I also do not do a lot of damage at this point because all I have is 2 longswords. I don't have my ultimate, but I do have flash. You, I think, do have ultimate for this play. I think this is a spectator bug. He obviously has ultimate, but he has no flash. But he has a completed proto belt to your Phage and Sheen, and my 2 longswords. And he's also 2 levels up over me, although you're the same level as him. But again, you're going into this with about half HP. So it's a fairly complex kind of evaluation, but like we should be able to look at this and go, this is probably not a great idea, especially because if we get counter ganked, we just get absolutely destroyed. I think my execution of this could have been greatly improved. You played this well, but I think it's just we just don't have the numbers. This is not the situation that we actually want to fight. You guys see literally, you know, Xin Zhao come in there at the last second, even if we win that, he just cleans up. And it may seem like these plays are just kind of like, you know, oh man, that just kind of sucks, but it's like, these are plays that if you just sack a little bit just to make these plays not happen, I mean, you're already, even with, you know, 3 deaths and giving over those kills and not taking the plates and stuff like that, you're still at 400 gold. Like, literally, you have 400 gold that you could have given up to not let those plays happen, and you were easily up like 2k gold. Those things add up quickly. So I'm gonna be honest, this was really the only thing I thought that you did that was, besides the level 2 game. But this was, I think, the only thing you did that was, like, actually bad. Instead of just, like, less optimal. So when I'm taking the Rift Herald here, this is a pretty huge play for us. They have Jinx and Echo. And we have Sivir, but we don't have a whole lot of range damage. We don't have a whole lot of poke. Like, we have Sivir Yumi, which is a fair amount of poke, but we're kind of looking at the 1-3-1 here. Cracking this mid turret is a huge deal for us. Especially because they have a lot of wave clear. So taking this Rift Herald, even if we're not on 1-3-1 comp against that much wave clear, is really important. So in this play, we don't have any eyes on Echo. You push in the wave, which is fine, because we know Xin Zhao is going to be by. It's a little bit risky because he can like skip the gatekeep, but it's whatever, you know. You can't always play like he's there. So we know Xin Zhao's on the bot side, so I take Rift Herald, and then you come over, and then you just head back the lane. And I wanna show this from the other perspective so that you understand why this frustrates me. Right, so Echo is taking his blue buff. He sees you in the mid lane, and he sees you disappear. Now, he knows that his jungler is on the bot side. He knows that their bot lane is backing. And he knows that top lane is fighting right now. So he knows that there's a good chance that we just go to Rift here. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, maybe he loses 1 minions a wave, or 1 wave of minions, but if he can stop the Rift Herald play, that's instantly worth it. So to that effect, you know, he just goes, he clears out the wave, and then he checks Rift Herald. And especially because he's much, much stronger than I am at this stage of the game, you know, he just comes and he kills me, and it's honestly a legit miracle that I actually managed to secure it. So to that effect, there's really 2 things you could have done here. You could have either just walked over and helped me, or just stayed there and like kind of baited out the gank. I'm much in favor of you just coming over and helping me. Like, you already have the wave crashed. We know the jungler's on the bot side of the map. We don't win a 2v2 anymore. That's far too late for that. So just come up, help me take it, just get that map advantage. Like you're honestly already doing fine in the lane, even despite the ganks and everything like that. You're not gonna lose anything because the next wave of minions are still at the towers. To just use that time effectively, because you literally kind of just wait here in the lane for the next wave, and that's the time that Echo uses to come and kill me. And to this effect, it's sometimes better not to rotate at all than it is to rotate late. Like, if you make the decision not to rotate, not to help, you kind of have to stick to that decision, because, especially because we lose this 2v2 really hard right now. Like, there's no situation in which we come and turn this. Just, if you find yourself, oh crap, I should have been there, just stay where you are. It's a mistake that I used to make all the time in the jungle. I'll be like, oh crap, wait, he's getting ganked, I need to be there. I show up, they kill him, and it's 2v1 now, and now I die. And that ensues. And at this point, like, we're kind of seriously fucked, because they take mid turret now, and they have Echo. They have a lot of gold on Echo, who you had been keeping down pretty well, but because of our misplays around kind of just priority and just honestly us working together, they got a whole lot of gold, which means they have an item advantage on the person who has an E, has his W, he has his R, and we have no CC to lock him down. Like, we have no way of killing this Echo at all. And we have a Zhao who is in a favorable matchup, who wants an early lead, and has an early lead. And so what are we supposed to do about this? Like, at this point, like, we're in a really, really tough situation. And, you know, I know that, like, it's not like the rest of us played it perfect, and there's lots and lots of stuff the rest of us talk about. That's why Dripax is going to have his half of the section, and that's why I spent a couple hours viewing this. But I just kind of wanted to point out, like, kind of the decisions that, and just kind of the framework of mind that I felt kind of, like, led up to the situation, that maybe, like, we can kind of work on, and hopefully work on just kind of adapting so that we can work together better in the future, and other teams can't abuse this, because, you know, that's kind of the point of scrims. But yeah, so that kind of signals the end of this half of the video. I'm going to restart it from the beginning and go over my boy Drip. So first thing to notice here is you should win this level 1 and level 2, especially because we have the jungler up here, and we see Xin Zhao going into the bottom side of the map. Like, we see him leave the lane and go there. And I think I mentioned this in the first half, but I'll just reiterate it, that I'm looking to kind of be more assertive and calling where the jungler is going, and just kind of being, like, giving more vague calls so that you guys have better information to work with. So, like, just kind of changing the specificity. So sometimes I'll say, hey, he'll be on the bot half of the map, or hey, he's going to be in bot bush, or hey, he's ganking bot, or hey, he's in my bot jungle. Like, just kind of giving zones of varying sizes so that you guys can work with it. Because honestly, it doesn't matter if he's here or here or here. He can't be here. So in this situation, just use your Q just to clear out this wave and just hard push him under tower. Because, for one, at that point, it means that I get a really free invade onto this top side. For two, he doesn't really have to give you any trades here. He doesn't need the trades. He's just looking to play this out and play it safe, so just kind of punish that, right? If he was stepping up and letting you trade with him, yeah, sure, let the wave sit there, but we don't have any CC. I don't think we're really going to kill him here, but... Yeah, and that was probably a little bit of error judgment on my call. Like, I shouldn't have called for the gank there. And kind of just to emphasize what I was saying earlier, like, if you already had this wave here, and, like, this wave was just now pushing out, you could have been here to help me. So that when Echo inevitably rotates here, just because Azure likes to roam a lot, it's a 2v1. Because we know the jungler's still on the bot side of the map. Even if he's running right there, it turns into a 2v2, and that's still better. You're not really going to lose a whole lot, because the wave would just probably be beating about now. But again, these are just like little small things, and it's like maybe that's the right decision, maybe not. But this is kind of the trend line that I think we should be looking more is just utilize the pressure we have in our lanes better. Small thing that's going to come back to bite me later. It's about this range that I can ward hop to on Lee Sin. So this ward's fine, but when you put this red ward here later, it kind of fucks with me. But it's still my fault because I had a ward and I could have ward hopped. But just as a note, like it's just a little bit more useful for me, and I don't think you really need to use any vision. So. It was really, really nice trades. Really good abuse of that Q range. This is a little bit kind of like, this will be kind of elo dependent and just kind of like the jungle, and I don't know, it's just one of those things where it's like, it's not necessarily a bad play, but something that you can consider in the future, is you can place that ward like here, or even honestly if you put it far enough back in the river bush, like I know you kind of just did it quickly, but if you just walk back to there and place the ward there, or actually wait, where do you have to put it? I think you have to put it like here. But this ward makes this lane so hard to gank. Because if you don't want to put it in the bush because you're afraid he'll like sweep it out or something like that, like. That was a really good punish on this TP play. Blow his flash and everything's so good. That was a really nice play. To that effect, and again, this is something that just using information that I'm hoping to kind of be better at giving, but we know that Xin Zhao is going to be heading to the bot side of the map because that's where all of his camps are. Like maybe he just sticks around and goes for kind of like a little cheesy gank right here. But in this case, actually wait, I think he actually used this one. Yeah, this is really nice. We know the jungle's on the bot side of the map. Well, he actually, just ganked mid. So you just abuse the flash advantage and just kill him. Alright, so I think we both know what play this is going to be, but so you know the situation. Echo was recalled. Xin Zhao just recalled from bottom lane. Like, we don't know he recalled, but he went bot lane, disappeared, didn't go over the ward. His no camp spot, like, it's kind of obvious. So I invade onto the blue buff, and we have Irelia mid, and you see Nasus walking over. So I believe you go to rotate here, which rotating through the tower I think is fine. I think that was a good choice. Because it's shorter, you know that he can't really turn onto you. Because you have a 2-level advantage, Jesus. And you're going to support me, which is nice. I think this is mostly just a micro thing. But But just for one thing, it's just like, it's better to lead people with your Q sometimes. So this is something like you'll see, like, I'll say like sometimes unironically that I was using my Q as like a zoning tool, or using a cocoon as a zoning tool. And I think this is one of those situations where I think that was the right decision here. Because, right, Aatrox's Q is CC, and it's a lot of damage. So, you hit him with this one, and he turns the Q on me. And so, and right, so he's going to be kiting this way. Like, maybe he just runs straight back, but either way, if you Q here, the only way that he gets hit by it is if he Qs and, like, you know, he Qs here and then stands still for the auto. Because if he Qs and moves this way, it's still going to hit, like, right here. So it's just kind of take this little step before you cast it, and start casting it now. So that it'll hit there, and he either has to walk into it and take the knockup, or just stand and fight me, which, I mean, I still win this, right? He's super low health. And even if he doesn't get hit by it, he still gives you time to even just walk up and turn the fight, even if he was gonna, you know, probably kill you. But I don't think he does here. But the downside is, this means that now you're too away from the fight. It's like we tried to turn onto the Echo, and it was a really nice last one, to be honest. Really unfortunate that didn't kill him. But what is this, dude? Right, so we know that Echo's here. We know that Echo's level 7. And I'm level 5. We know that I'm half health. We know that you're half health. We know that Nasus is hiding under his tower to get away. There's no situation in which we dive. We know that Xin Zhao is on his way. So I don't think there's really almost any situation in which we 2v2. And I really don't have a whole lot of good ways of getting out here. Like, maybe I ward hop, but like Echo can just E over. So why are you taking the wave here? I don't think that's a good decision, and maybe I die either way, but like it doesn't really leave me a whole lot of options. Right, and like you barely get away here, but like there's just not a whole lot of reason to be clearing that wave there. This was a really risky play. And I'll say that for one reason. That's because Rift Herald is up here and they have a massive lead in the jungle. It obviously works out. And you know what? There's times to take risks, but I just kind of want to make sure that you're kind of aware that a lot more aggressive junglers, like especially like me, when I know that, hey, I can just push the jungler out, and I know that Lee Sin's heading onto the bot side because his camps are up, and I know that my mid lane has an advantage and will rotate first, I go for this Rift here. Like, it's 10 minutes. This is perfect time for Rift because it means you almost guarantee plates with it. Like, really the best time to use it is, like, you know, 10 and 14, right? So you use it early so that you have plenty of time to get the plates. Or you use it right before the plates go down so that you can just drop it immediately and take first tower. So, honestly, I don't think Xin Zhao had a whole lot of reason going to the bot here. I don't think he does anything with it. I don't think it's utilizing his map pressure well. I think that the number one play for him to do is either gank top right now or take Rift. Either one, you're very vulnerable, and you just blew Flash and Ultimate, and Nasus has his up right now, and Xin Zhao will kill you. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this isn't really the worst play in the world, but this is something that could have gone very poorly if he had played it. So you know I'm taking Rift. But taking the trade here is fine. You know, it's likely to draw jungle aggro, almost kill him, gets priority. I think that's fine. You rotate, you know, once you see like the invaded stuff, like I think that's all fine. Like, I think in contrary to mid lane, I don't know, like honestly, I think it's fine if you rotate. I think probably the best play is if you rotate for Rift here. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if you just stick here and just keep him under the turret, hope you just draw a jungle aggro, but I mean there's a good chance that the jungle walks by, sees me, and goes on me. So I think in this situation, you just kind of push him under tower there and you just come here. Because if you do that and Sed did what I was talking about earlier, we literally just 3-man this. We know that Echo's backed, we know that Xin Zhao is backed. We do it much faster and much safer because it's either basically a 2v3 or they just give it up. And considering that we get it as is, I think that was probably the better play. Because you don't really lose a whole lot for it, right? He does the same thing here, but he just pushes it out. You don't really get to abuse it, you don't really get to dive him, you don't really get damage on the tower. It's probably better just to rotate that position. But again, not really the worst thing in the world. And let's do some math games here, because I want this play doesn't seem like a huge deal, but it kind of undoes all of the work that you've been doing. So you're at almost exactly 900 gold lead. And neither of you have ult. He has TP, so even if you do kill him and like get really low, he can just TP back and force you off the wave. We know their jungler is topside. So even if you do kill that, even if you do kill him, you'll probably get ganked and die. Or at the very least, just let him invade me and kill me. And I think he has an item advantage here. Maybe he just backed, but I mean, so he's sitting on not exactly Tabi, but he still has the armor, and he has an Iceborne to just a Phage, Tabi, and Executioners. So like, it's not like you're really behind in items, but you don't have a huge lead in items, even despite your gold. So you hit a lot of parts of the queue. You don't exactly hit the bladed edges, but that's fine. You kind of recognize the fight's over, but it's because you're taking this fight, which isn't nearly as big of a discrepancy as it seems, because you're fighting in this huge minion wave here. I think you're just being a little too aggressive and sure of the lead. Also, like, you know, usually it's good to do the kite, but don't kite out of bushes if you're a melee champion. Like, it's a little bit different if you're ranged. There's situations, but I mean, you just open yourself up to plays like this. You just kind of have to stand there. It's not like you already are near your wave, and he has a ward here, so you're not going to break vision, so you're not going to de-aggro the wave. Like, you just have to stand in the bush there. But I think the main thing I want to point it out is, regardless, just because I know, you know, you're obviously a much better solo laner than I am, is, you know, that turns your 900 gold lead into about, well, right off the bat it turns it into about 450 gold lead. And then he pushes that in, he backs, you're about 260. So that's about 450 gold out of your, wait, no, you had a 900? Yeah, so that's about 640. You lost about 640 gold out of your lead out of that one play. And that's not to mention all the CS you're missing here. Right, and so now he gets it back, and he backs on Tabi, boots in this, and like, you know, he gets the back of a lifetime against our comp, and you don't even get to finish your cleaver. So like, that play doesn't seem like it's that kind of that bitch in competitive league where it's like that play doesn't seem like a big deal, because you know you died one time, but you gave up a lot for it. So I think you TP down here to help save Zed, but I think by this point, like, I kind of said most of what I wanted to say. Like, our mid game was, I reviewed it awful. There's not really a lot to comment on it. It's just we drafted ourselves into a really particular situation with a very particular win condition. And we have an Echo that we can't kill. We have a Xin Zhao that we can't basically prevent from doing anything, so he can protect the solo lanes just fine if we try to 1-3-1. We have a Nasus who hit all of his armor items before you even finished your first item. So to that effect, we can't really do anything to him either. And we have a Sivir with a lot of gold, but that doesn't really do us any good. So it's just really, those are really the things that I noticed that really came out to this. I think just in general, what I just kind of want to comment on was just us just trying to look at the map a little bit more. I think a really good thing to think back to was our game against Platless. Pretty sure they were the ones who ran the Shen TP comp. Like, they didn't really use a gold lead to, like, just pummel us, right? They didn't just win the solo lanes and run us down, right? They were just, it was always a 3v2 or a 4v2 or whatever. And you know, the Shen obviously helped, Shen and TF obviously helped that, but that's part of the reason why it's so powerful. And just the teams that I've played against in competitive arenas who do the best are usually just the teams who are on the same page and who do things with a plan, right? So the plan isn't, ooh, I'm going to shove this wave and get more CS. It's, ooh, I'm going to do this for the map. And whether that map is get a CS lead or, say, take plates or whatever, it's just looking a little bit more around the map to just make plays. And this goes for both Drip and Zed, obviously. Just trying to influence the map a little bit more, because even if you don't ever leave your lane, you can still influence it, right? If you're pushing up you're drawing pressure, right? You're putting pressure on that side of the map. And that means that they either have to deal with it or just start sacking things on that side of the map. It also opens me up because I have to play a lot around lane pressure. So just the timings and the specific points in the game in which you put lane pressure are very important to me because that is what I have to plan my routes around, especially on early game champions like Lee Sin. That is what I have to plan my game around. And yeah, I don't honestly like. Yes, we should have won, and there's a lot of things that we could have done differently. But I think that's just because we weren't really utilizing what we had to the best of our abilities. Like we were making fine decisions, but not good or even great decisions. And that's really how we got punished, was because we drafted a comp that really required us to basically just outplay them really hardly. And we just didn't get enough out of our plays and made a couple bad decisions, and then from there just spiraled out of control. But yeah. I hope this was helpful and not patronizing, because I'm not trying to tell you, how to do your role. You obviously know better than I do, but these are just some things that I noticed and think that we could be doing differently, even if what I described isn't the best way. Hopefully it just prompted you to think a little bit differently how about this place could be done differently. But yeah, I appreciate y'all listening to me rambling, and